Hello everyone and welcome to the 5.0 official class changes. We took a look at the data mined class changes and most of them are the same. Now we're going to do this in two videos. We're going to start with tech users and then we're going to go to force users in the second video. We are going to start with the smuggler and we're going to start with the scoundrel. I am doing this in the order that they put them out, really. The order of the post. If you check out the official forums, you'll see the order that's in. We're going for that. We're going for Republic, at least, with the... Well, in fact, we'll just go Republic, shall we? Just keep things simple. And we'll go Republic, because that's what we were playing. So the Scoundrel, they said that you'll notice that we got some cunning new tricks added to their repertoire. Interesting. Okay, new skills and abilities can give the Scoundrel an upper hand. Hey! Make them a dangerous opponent on the battlefield. Scoundrel joke. Didn't work. Okay, so our new ability is Bushwhack. Okay, it executes your upper hand, drops spinning blades at your feet, which will do persistent AOE damage for 6 seconds. It's basically Freighter Flyby without the cast time. Okay, and it's going to cost upper hand. Okay, when you're a healer, you're going to be able to use it from up to 30 meters away. So we've got our 30 meter AOE, fire and forget AOE. Well, it's not really fire and forget. It's going to use an upper hand stack. But generally, you know, we also have a spare one as a healer. Get enough slow release med packs out and you'll be drowning in upper hands. So it's not really an issue. It is, I guess it's going to be like Ravager. If you played World of Warcraft, if you played a warrior, that's really what that is. You drop a blade and it spins and it does damage. Essentially, the operatives are getting toxic haze. So it's just going to be like a canister that's going to drop and just pulse. Think Death and Decay. If you were Death Knight, you know, think about that. It's probably going to look something like that, I would imagine. But yeah, it's just Freighter Flyby with a different name. Essentially, that's it. That's it, really. Your cover, crouch, charge bursts have been removed. Again, they're not really an issue. They're all only going to be for gunslingers. You don't really need cover as a scoundrel. There was a couple of flashpoint bosses where you could avoid being pulled by being in cover, but it's not really a big loss, to be honest. So you're getting a new legendary utilities. They say a new suite of legendary utilities. So this is some of the scoundrels that they've got. You're getting Slippery Shooter. So Scamper grants you a charge of Slippery Shooter. It reduces the energy cost of your quick shot by 100% and allows it to be used at 30 meters. Okay, it will knock the target back. Assume that won't work on raid bosses. Each use of quick shot consumes a charge of Slippery Shooter. So I take it it's 2 charges you could get maximum because it's 2 charges of Scamper. And Slippery Shooter, when it consumes a charge, will give you 10 energy. So it is going to be used as an energy management. Okay, fights where you're going to be away from the target for a bit. You know, you could Scamper. I'm thinking Bulow on that one. I'm thinking when you get the Mass Barrage and you're away, and you still want to hit him with your quick shot. Of course, we don't have Charge Burst anymore, so, you know, it kind of makes up for that. And it gives you 10 energy, which is nice. You've also got Sly Surrender. Surrender grants you Sly Surrender, causing your next slow release med pack to immediately grant 2 stacks. Also heals you for 1% of your maximum health every second for 10 seconds. So 10% of your maximum health over 10 seconds is not too bad. Colto Pack also now heals more health instantly, but does not have the heal over time. Hopefully that's not permanent. Hopefully it's just when Surrender's up. Really, hopefully that's just... Because if that's permanent, you don't want it. As a DPS, you maybe want it with Colto Pack. As a healer, certainly not. You know, you want that hot from the Colto Pack, certainly. You've also got Back At Ya. This is an awesome dodge grants Back At Ya, which is basically Saber Reflect. Okay, it's 150% single target, 150% of single target force or tech damage while dodge is active. Of course, dodge only useful on melee abilities, but if you take Back At Ya, it is going to be reflected. The damage is taken and reflected, but not absorbed. So it's not like, it's a little bit different from Saber Reflect. It's going to reflect the damage back, but you're not going to absorb it. Most useful in PvP though, unless you're taking a big force or tech hit from a boss. Maybe Sword Squadron. Maybe the big grenade that you take. That's a tech attack. I don't know if that'll reflect back. But, you know, it's still, you know, could be a bit of a DPS gain there. You never know. I don't know if it'll work on raid bosses. Saber Reflect works on raid bosses, so I'm imagining it could work there. But PvP is where it's going to be its main use, up against snipers or power techs or sorcerers in particular. It's going to be quite useful for that. So if you're going up against a lot of sorks, then, you know, getting their force damage reflected back, pretty decent actually. We'll move on to the Gunslinger. So they've said they want it as the quintessential Old Republic range damage dealer, which it is really. Although it has been eclipsed slightly in the last two expansions with the commandos being kind of encroaching. The commandos' mobility, okay, is you know, certainly gives them a slight advantage, I would say, in a lot of fights where mobility is the key. Especially fights like Master Blaster or something like that, where you just can never get a chance to sit down and get some damage out. Okay, the Gunslinger, they've said they give you a slightly longer range stun. Utilities improve their chase and retreat capabilities. Okay, so they're going to handle more combat situations than ever before. Good. That means more mechanics that they can deal with as a Gunslinger. They are quite good in raids, and they're quite good in PvP as well. The fact they can't be leaped to while in cover gives them quite an advantage. You got below the belt, which is a shot in the dick. Replaces dirty kick, so rather than kick him in the dick, you're going to shoot him in the dick. Okay, it's just basically dirty kick with a 10-meter range. That's it. It's called below the belt. You know where you're going to shoot them. Going to shoot them in the dick. Right, Blaster Whip and Quick Shot have also been removed. They're now going to be Scoundrel, of course. You never really needed Blaster Whip. Quick Shot, you kind of used. I mean, the Slippery Shooter one is basically, what was it called? I can't remember what it was called, but the snipers did have that. When they left cover, they gained it, so it may be a slight mobility loss there. The legendary utilities that you're going to get opportunity knocks for every target initially affected beyond the first diversion. Grants a charge of opportunity knocks. Grants armor penetration at 10% per charge. Lasts for 8 seconds. So your diversion is your what is diversion? I'll look at the sniper ones. Control chaos diversion is not your interrupt, is it? It's not your I was thinking it was the AOE accuracy debuff. For every time beyond the first. So it must be an AOE. I don't remember what diversion is. I was thinking distraction is the interrupt. Diversion was the accuracy thing, I'm pretty sure. It lowered accuracy. It's going to increase armor penetration. So that would be pretty useful. You've got Shield Reserve when Scrambling Field is active. That's your AoE defensive cooldown. So you know what that is. You gain a charge of Shield Reserve. I haven't played a Gunslinger for a long time. You can tell. So you... where were we? When Scrambling Field is first active, you gain a charge of Shield Reserve. Each enemy inside your Scrambling Field up to 4. So it will activate on enemies this time. So it increases the damage increases your damage reduction by 5% based on the enemies that are inside. In addition, while inside your Scrambling Field, you heal for 3% of your maximum health every second, and you're immune to being pulled or knocked back. Quite useful, actually, in certain fights. It's only going to be you that's going to get the heal, and only going to be you that's going to be immune from being pulled or knocked back. Not the whole raid. That'd have been OP as hell. Good in PvP. You can pull people. Just sit it on the objective, and there you go. You've also got Guile and Guns, Flash Grenade, and below the belt grant Guile and Guns, allowing your next quick draw within 10 seconds to be used regardless of the target's remaining health and deal 15% additional damage. It's not too bad. You could stun someone and then try and kill him. Add insult to injury, really. There you go. There you go. So that's an interesting one there. Whether you'll take that, I mean, you might take it in PvE. I don't know if you have to have the stun up or whether you just have to use Flash Grenade or below the belt. Because, of course, you can't stun bosses. So whether you use it on PvE, Who knows? Because it is definitely going to be a DPS gain. 15% additional damage to your execute ability. Yeah, you're going to want that. You've also got bait and switch. Hightail it. Heals you for 10% of your maximum health. And the duration of dodge is increased by 2 seconds. Useful on fights, again, like Underlurker, for example. Quite useful there. Again, 10% of your maximum health is quite a decent amount, actually. Imagine you'll be approaching, what, 100k health in 4.0? So it'll be a big 10k heal, I'd imagine. Duration of dodge increased is very, very nice as well. Again, useful for Underlurker. You weren't as useful as a Scoundrel in Underlurker, but you were quite, you know, because you didn't have the, what was it, scramble you had, so you couldn't do a dodge every single cross phase. You could do it every second phase. So if you had two gunslingers, you had to swap them in and out, whereas you had a Scoundrel, you could take the standing at the front of the cross every single phase, because you could just dodge it. Didn't do anything. The devastate thing, regardless whether you had the debuff in HM, it didn't matter. You could just take every single cross and you could put the tank to the back and the tank would take less damage. Because of course you only ran with one tank there. So we'll move on to the Trooper. Let's move on to the Trooper. We're in tech users, so Trooper now. The Vanguard, they said Knights of the Fallen Empire left Vanguards in a good position. No. They ruined us. They've ruined our range. One of the most well-rounded... Yeah, we started as one of the most well-rounded classes in the game. We did not end it. Okay? They say they want to push the Vanguard fantasy in a way that made them feel unique and different from the Commando. Well, they are different from the Commando, really. We have less mobility, a lot less mobility than the Commando, certainly. So you're getting Artillery Blitz as a new ability. It replaces Mortar Volley. It is going to be usable on the move. The data mine stuff said it was going to be usable on the move. Ion Wave is replacing Pulse Cannon. I take it it's just the same ability, just a different name. Because the Flamethrower is getting replaced for the Power Tag. It's going to be called Searing Wave. I don't think it's going to matter. Flak Shell is a new ability. It's going to replace Sticky Grenade. Sticky Grenade is going to be exclusive for Commandos. I take it it'll do the same thing, like it'll refresh your bleed in Tactics. Apparently it's just going to do damage right away, is what it said in the data mine stuff, rather than explode after a time, because the Sticky Grenade stuck to someone and then exploded after a while and dealt splash damage. So others, it was useful, Sticky Grenade, in Tactics spec, because it had a longer range and it was useful for refreshing your bleed as well, because it went off, it refreshed your bleed effect, which you wanted to keep up, obviously. So Tactics did find a use for it occasionally, you know, it was useful. So hopefully it shares the same, it's the same ability there. So you've got the legendary utilities. We've got Pull and Pummel. Harpoon deals kinetic damage to pulled targets and causes your next Stock Strike or Shock Strike to deal 20% more damage and stun the target for 1.5 seconds. The old pull and stun technique is coming back. That was the old school one. Pulling the healer away and stunning them and then just throwing an assault plastic on them. That was the thing that you did back in vanilla. So you've got it there. It's going to be Stock Strike this time as you're going to stun the target. Might be useful for a tank in PvE if you can stun a target. You know, quite useful. 20% more damage to the target. It doesn't say whether it has to actually pull them, whether you can use it on a boss, because obviously your Harpoon is a very good threat generator. So if you can Harpoon and then get the Stock Strike doing 20% more damage as a tank, bear in mind that's 40% more threat, because it scales, it's 200%, which is, well, you do 100% threat based on being a DPS, and you get double that, so it goes up to 40% more threat. So, you know, it could be useful. You've got Smothering Slag, you slag. Gonna smother you, you slag, which doesn't involve killing prostitutes with a pillow. Just gonna avoid that. Flak Shell reduces the movement speed of all affected targets by 75% for 15 seconds. Quite useful in PvP. This effect can only occur every 30 seconds. That's quite useful for PvP. It's, you know, another bit of a slow there. But otherwise, PvE, there's very rare occasions you ever have to slow at it. So yeah, it's mostly a PvP thing. Aim extensions. Battle Focus grants aim extensions, which increases the maximum range of Ion Pulse, Tactical Surge, Flak Shell, Artillery Blitz, Energy Blast, Energy Burst, Plasma Fire, and Plasmatize by 20 meters for 15 seconds. Basically your whole rotation, regardless of what spec you are, really. Your whole rotation for all three specs, really. Because all three specs use... energy burst or energy blast, energy burst. Yeah. So that's an interesting one. It's going to increase the range by 20 meters while you're battle focus. Battle focus is a 2-minute cooldown, and is your main sort of offensive. Increases your crit chance. Really, it does. You want to pop it at the pool, really, and again, if you have to be away from the boss, again, we're thinking Bulow again. We have to be away from the boss, or what's his name, Torque as well. We have to be away from the boss during the fire, and if it's available you can pop it then, so certainly something that you're going to want. You're certainly not going to save it because it's a DPS loss at the pool not to use it there, so you're going to use it there obviously, and as the fight goes on you might get pushed away, and it might be, if it's available then you can pop it, because of course if you're pushed away from the boss, or you're away from the boss, you would save it for when you went back to the boss because you wanted the uptime of battle focus. Especially in tactic spec with those big crits that you did. So having that, I think it was what, 20% crit chance you got. Quite useful there. So, you know, just adds a bit more functionality to battle focus. We'll move on to the commando. This is the changes that they've put forward, we should point out. There's not a lot here, to be honest. It's just the new, it's not really class changes, it's more new features, I would say. So they've said that the long requested features of the commando is a better way to survive attacks from enemies. Yeah, PvP, they were awful because you just focus the commando, and they had very little. They did have the get out button, the disengage, we'll call it, button. They did have that. So they said commandos have several new toys to keep them alive, while also polishing the class a bit to help differentiate it from the Vanguard. They did differentiate it. I don't know why they felt they didn't differentiate it. So a new ability is Echoing Deterrence. Okay. It's basically Saber Reflect. Okay. Okay, absorbs all single target damage. So it's not just... Well, you'd argue Saber Reflect with a bit more functionality. It reflects 50% of the damage back to the attacker and heals you for 5% each. 5% of your health each time an attack is absorbed. Quite powerful, actually. It seems like one of the most powerful defensive cooldowns in the game. We might get replaced. It depends on the timer. We might get replaced on Underlurker as Scoundrels. As Scoundrels may be replaced by Commandos at standing in front of the Underlurker, because if it can absorb all the single target damage, because Devastate is a big melee attack, you know, and reflect 50% of it. Jeez, that's a DPS gain. And heal for 5% of your health. Jesus, you're going to love that cross on Underlurker. In fact, regardless of where you're standing, that's going to be awesome there. 50% of the damage back to it, that's powerful. Pretty powerful. So basically their solution to everything is give everyone Saber Reflect. Basically, that's what it is. So their legendary utilities are as follows. You've got one-man army. Hindering a target with Electronet grants one-man army. Increases your alacrity by 15% for 9 seconds. Additionally, activating Supercharged Cell reduces the cooldown of Adrenaline Rush by 5 seconds. Quite useful there. I mean, Adrenaline Rush is your big sort of cooldown. It's your oh shit button, which heals you. Apparently the healing is going to go beyond, it goes up to 80% apparently, Adrenaline Rush. It was on the data mined stuff. I don't know, it's not mentioned here, but having that Adrenaline Rush available seems like cool. PvE limited use because it has to be hindered with Electronet. You can't hinder bosses with Electronet to get one-man army, because the key is in the wording there. Hindering. You know, it didn't say whether Electronet is present, because obviously you use Electronet. Okay, especially if you were gunnery spec, you would pop well, your either spec popping Electronet was useful, but especially if you're gunnery, getting that 15% alacrity would have been amazing for that 9 seconds. I don't think you'll be able to use it in PvE. Maybe if a boss has ads that can be stunned, maybe. Maybe you'll want it whenever the ads spawn. You've got trauma stabilizers is the next ability. When a reactive shield is active, you generate a stack of trauma stabilizers every time you receive direct damage. Stacks up to 15 times. When reactive shield is fired, each stack of trauma stabilizers instantly heals you for 5% of your maximum health. That's quite significant. Stacks up to 15 times, so it can heal you for up to 75%. 5 times 15 is 75. Interesting. Can heal you for 75% of your max. That's quite powerful as well. Jeez, is she going to be hard to kill? Commando's going to be maybe OP in PvP. They might be the class of choice, maybe the SWTOR replacement. The other ability is Suppression Protocol. Stealth Scan grants suppression protocols, increasing the damage and healing dealt by your next non-channel direct damage or healing ability by 20% for each target revealed from stealth. Ooh, if you reveal like 4 targets from stealth, 5 targets, you get 100% damage buff then? I mean, it's unlikely you're going to get 5 people standing together, but that's quite nice. That'd be quite... You're going to be quite good against stealthers. Defending nodes against stealthers. Or even attacking nodes with a stealther kind of defending. If you can get your stealth thing out, that's going to be quite good. Non-channel though, so you can't use it with... what's it called? Bolt Storm. You can't use it with that. But still, you know, it's pretty good. Effect stacks up to 5 charges and lasts for... Yeah, you can get 100% damage buff. And last for 10 seconds. Quite useless in PvE. I don't think you can stealth detect. Maybe those... Maybe, what's he called again? Olok the Shadow, maybe? And those bloody shotgunners. So maybe you could use that. Might be useful there. But certainly in PvP, it has situational usage. I mean... Fighting a lot of stealthers, that's going to be a nice damage buff against a stealther. Not only do you pull them out of stealth and reveal them, but you also give you know, you've got your damage buff as well. Anyway, so that is all for this video. So we'll see you again soon. We'll do the Force users. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.